Today we're going to be learning about stem and leaf plots and how we can organize our data with these specific graphs. There are two parts in the stem and leaf plot. The stem is formed with the greatest common place value. The leaf is formed with the second greatest common place value. We're going to make a stem and leaf plot using the test scores below. The first thing that we need to do is put the test scores in numerical order, which means from least to greatest. Putting it in order first will help us make the plot. Since the data ranges from 56 to 99, the stems range from 5 to 9, because 5 is going to be the lowest and 9 is going to be the highest for the stem. Looking at that, it's because the tens place value is the highest common place value. To plot the data, make a vertical list of the stems. So vertical means up and down, and I have 5 through 9. Each number is assigned to the graph by pairing the units, digit, or leaf with the correct stem. The score 56 is plotted by placing a 6 to the right of the stem. So you can see that I have 56 and I have 59 up at the top. Going down to the next row, I have 64, 65, and 69. I have 70, 71, 73, 76, 77, 78, and so on. I do the same thing for 80 and for 90. Using this data, let's answer these questions. What was the lowest score on the algebra test? I can look at both sets of data and how it's organized to do a double check. I can tell when it's organized from least to greatest that 56 is going to be the lowest score. I can also tell on the stem and leaf plot that the first number would be 56. What was the highest score on the algebra test? I can see that it's 99, but I'm going to double check myself. I'm going to go to the bottom row, and the last number would be 99. In which interval did most students score? So the intervals are going to be the part that has from 50 to 59, or from 60 to 69. And you can see that clearly on the graph, 90 to 99 has the most. So the interval would be 90 to 99. We're going to make a stem and leaf plot of the test scores below. The first thing that I do with this data is organize it from least to greatest. Now, since the data ranges from 65 to 95, the stems are going to be 6 through 9. To plot the data, make a vertical list of the stems, which I have 6, 7, 8, and 9. Each number is assigned to the graph by pairing the digits or the leaf with the correct stem. The score 65 is plotted by placing a 5 to the right of the stem of 6. So this reads as 65 and 69. Then I have 73 and 78. And below I have the numbers that are in the 80s as well as the numbers that are in the 90s. Use the data to answer these questions. What was the lowest score on the history test? I can look at both sets of organized data. From least to greatest, I can see the lowest was 65. And then from my stem and leaf plot, the first number is a 5 and it's paired up with a stem of 6, which means it's 65. What was the highest score on this test? I know that 95 is the highest and least to greatest, but then I can look at the stem and I go to 9 and the last number is 5, which is 95. In which interval did most students score? You can see that in the 80s there are 4 students that scored as compared to only 2 in the other 10s. So I know that it's between 80 to 89. For this one, we're going to use the stem and leaf plot to answer the questions for the history test. So what is the best test score? Well, I'm going to go down to the bottom because I know the best would be the highest, and I have 10, and I'm going to add a 0 onto it because that would be the highest, which would be 100. How many students took the test? So now I need to go through and I'm going to add up each row. In the 60s, I had 6 students take the test. In the 70s, I had 5 students take the test. In the 80s, I had 9 students. In the 90s, I had 8 students. And in the 100s, I had 2 students. I'm going to add this up to find out how many students there were. By adding it up, I found that there would be 30 students who tested. How many students scored 90? You can see that there's 2 zeros, which would be added on to the stem of 9, which means 2 students. What was the lowest score? I'm going to go up to the highest stem, which is the 6 at the top of the chart, and I know that 1 is the lowest score, 61. Find the difference between the highest and the lowest scores. Well, I know that the highest was 100, the lowest was 61, and I'm going to find the difference. I know that the difference between 100 and 61 is going to be 39. We're going to use this data to make a stem and leaf plot. I first begin by listing the numbers in order from least to greatest. Now that I have the data set in order from least to greatest, I'm going to make a stem and leaf chart. I can see that my lowest number is 12 and my highest number is 48. So looking at that, my stems are going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I'm going to go ahead and start writing my leaves. For the 10s through 19, I had a lot of numbers, so I have 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s, because I have 12, 12, 13, 13, 14, 14, and so on. Now I'm going to do all of the 20s. For 20, I have 23, I have 24, and I have 28. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to my 30s, where I just have one number, which is 36, and then my 40s, I have 45 and 48. Now I'm going to use the data to answer the questions. How many people attended the meeting? So I can see easily between the 20s and the 40s that there's going to be just 7 people. But now I need to add up all of the ones that were in their teens, and I can see that there's 27 people there. So I'm going to add 27 plus 7 people, and I know that that is going to be 34 people. So 34 people attended the meet. What are the ages of the youngest and the oldest person attending? From my greatest to least chart, I have 12 and 48, but I can also see that the lowest would be the first number, which is 12, and the highest would be the last number, which is 8. So I have between 12 and 48. Which age group was more widely represented? And you can definitely see that the teens were, which would be between 10 and 19. There were the most people there that were that age. Using a stem and leaf plot can help you organize data. By looking at it from least to greatest, you can see exactly what type of data is going to be used.